Within days of President Trump announcing US troops would withdraw from northeast Syria, Turkish jets began taking off. Their targets, Kurdish-controlled Syrian border towns.
Smoke rising from artillery shells, a long trail of cars, many people on foot also leaving the city.
President Erdogan had given the order to launch the attack. I wish success to our heroes and I kiss each of them on their forehead. He tweeted. The Turkish armed forces, together with the Syrian National Army, just launched Operation Peace Spring against PKK, YPG and Daesh terrorists in northern Syria. Our mission is to prevent the creation of a terror corridor across our southern border and to bring peace to the area. Today, though, he brought firepower against Kurdish forces and panic to civilians. Since the defeat of Daesh, or ISIS, Kurdish forces have controlled the part of Syria east of the Euphrates, backed by a number of US troops. In August, a 3-mile buffer zone was agreed, running along the Turkish border, to be jointly patrolled by Turkey and the US. But President Erdogan has always wanted to go further, 20 miles inside the border, to push back the YPG, who he considers terrorists allied with a Kurdish insurgency in Turkey. As shelling began on the border towns of Sarikani and explosions rocked Ras Al Ain, Kurdish-led forces warned of humanitarian catastrophe, but with no US support, generals called on civilians to move to the border to fight.
We send a message to the whole world again. We will not target Turkey, but if they insist in attacking us and occupying our lands, we will trigger our right in defending our project until last blood. We are ready to face any kind of attack.
As Kurdish forces engage in battle, the worry is no one will be left to guard the prisons, filled with more than 10,000 ISIS fighters. Then they could escape, urged by their leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi.
Just in the last couple of weeks, Baghdadi, who's the head of ISIS, has started issuing messaging saying we need to break these guys out, supporting large-scale breakouts from these prisons. It's been something that the Trump administration, at least at the working level, has been very concerned about for the better part of a year now.
Donald Trump has long said ISIS is defeated, and today said the US did not endorse Turkey's attack, calling it a bad idea. But earlier he tweeted, "Fighting between various groups that has been going on for hundreds of years. USA should never have been in Middle East. The stupid, endless wars for us are ending."
Senator Lindsey Graham.
But his closest Republican friends disagree.
I will say this to the president. It would be hard to protect America without allies over there. And the Kurds have been good allies. And when Turkey goes into Syria, they're not going in to fight ISIS. They're going in to kill the Kurds because in their eyes, they're more of a threat to Turkey than ISIS.
Families have begun to flee their homes in the worst-hit towns, panicked and confused. US policy here is confused too, but Turkey is certain, determined that now is the time to strike.
Now, with Syria's northeastern border becoming a war zone as Turkish forces launch their offensive, rebel-held Idlib is all too familiar with the reality of near-daily attacks by the Syrian regime and its Russian allies. The northwestern province on Syria's border with Turkey is now the last major rebel stronghold 8 years into the bitter conflict. Government forces surrounded in the south, forcing thousands to flee their homes. Those left behind are finding their own ways to cope with life under constant attack. Tonight, we report the story of Abu Staif, who's the gravedigger of Idlib city, but also the curator of its history. Here's Porrick O'Brien.
With war all around, with the chaos of life in Idlib, he finds calm and clarity among the dead.
ما في حركة ما في ضجة منه الشغل ومنه باركين بالجباني يعني.
Abu Staif is a gravedigger in Idlib, Syria, as was his father and his grandfather. The difference, his tenure has been during the war.
من 2002 لهلا ابل بيجي بحدود ال 20,000. الاغلبيه بحدود 15 ل 17 15,000 باثناء الثوره من 2012 لهلا. صار الامر طبيعي يعني عن قبل صار التعويض من ميل والقلب اسي.
This morning's funeral is unusual. A 65-year-old man who died of natural causes. He'd fled fighting in the west of the country to seek refuge in Idlib city, like an estimated 500,000 others in the province. The graveyard predates the war, so everyone is buried here. Regime soldiers, rebels, jihadist militants, civilians. So Abu Staif is more than a gravedigger, he's a curator of Idlib's story.
هاودي التنين اخوي كمان يوم اللي ضربوا صاروخ هون 4 صواريخ سوا بالبنايه هون مبيني بالمقبره. 2 اخوي وامهم ما ماتت بس الاولاد 2 اخوي هاي واحد وهاي واحد 2 توم قبرناهم سوا جنب بعضهم.
Abu Staif's history lessons are told by the people buried here. Syria's story, line by line, carved into stone. The start of the revolution 2011. Idlib was one of the first places in which high-profile soldiers from the regime defected. The rebel Free Syrian Army was born. Some months later, the bloody backlash. Assad's troops retake the area. Those were the headlines at the time. This, the small print.
وفي هوني طفلي كماني الجيش كان عم يحتفل هاي بأول تحرير شو اسمه دخول الجيش على إدلب محتفلين بالنصر ضربوها برصاصة.
2015, jihadist militants and the original rebels, the Free Syrian Army, come together to defeat Assad's forces in Idlib. The big picture, the regime at its most vulnerable.
وفي هون واحد ابن مساعد اول كان بالجيش بالحفظ هاي بالسياسي طلع على البرندة بده يشوف اشوف فيه كمان قتيل كوا هذا ابرو. وفي شباب كثير 90% صارت شباب.
2019, hundreds of thousands of the Syrian displaced in Idlib. Assad's forces are closing in. And the UN warns of impending humanitarian disaster. Abu Staif's next burials are 3 people dug out of the rubble after an aerial attack in the south of Idlib. As the body count mounts, stories get harder to tell. The walkie-talkie system warns of warplanes in the area. The graveyard itself has been bombed in the past.
وشيل منه أكثر من 20 قبر مدمر دمار كامل. هاي هون محل هاي كلها قبور هوني. جينا لهون لقينا في قبور وجثث عظام ما في جثث عظام كلها. طالعة لمينا اللي حسنا نلم وطمرناه واللي تم مع حاله. ناكل من تحت بيضات.
It's a queue to take shelter, to take lunch. The solace of routine, a siesta. Idlib's gravedigger and obituarist has become hard with war, records the memories as best he can. His own name inscribed on his forearm, like the gravestones all around.
وبعدين بركة المقبرة راحة للجسم وللنفس ترتاح لأن البني آدم الميت ما بيأذي مثل البني آدم الطيب.
Porrick O'Brien reporting. And for more now on the Turkish assault against Syrian Kurdish fighters, which they launched today, we're joined by Dr. Janros Kelej, a Turkish Kurd who's visiting fellow at the London School of Economics, and in Washington, Dr. Amanda Sloat, a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. She previously served under President Obama as Deputy Assistant Secretary of State and a senior advisor to the White House, focusing on European and Middle Eastern affairs. Welcome to you both. Dr. Kelej, if I could start with you. I mean, this is an extraordinary reversal of fortune for the Kurds in northern Syria. Do you feel betrayed by the ally that relied on you so heavily to defeat ISIS?
I think, of course, people in the region, they feel they are abandoned and they are betrayed. But the dysfunctionality of the Trump foreign policy and also Trump's decision to withdraw the military from this region is people see that as an open invitation to Erdogan, a dictator, a repressive dictator, an open invitation to commit genocide and also commit ethnic cleansing in the region. It is Erdogan's aims are to change the democratic composition on the region and displace the Kurds from their homeland, and also try to prevent the Kurds to gain political and territorial opportunities, and also destroy the existing autonomous region of the Kurds and Armenian and Arabs and Syrian people in the region.
Okay, let's turn over to Dr. Sloat in Washington. Dr. Sloat, having given the green light to President Erdogan in a telephone conversation, President Trump has just now tweeted that invading or marching into northern Syria is a bad idea. So where does that leave America's image and credibility in the region?
Certainly, the miscommunication that has come out of this White House and this administration has made a very dangerous situation on the ground even more complicated. What's unfortunate is we have seen an exact replay of what happened in December 2018 when President Trump spoke to President Erdogan, indicated that he was going to pull U.S. troops, indicated that he was prepared to let Turkey go into Syria. Once there was a significant backlash, Trump backpedaled, tweeted economic threats against Erdogan if he ended up attacking the Kurds, and then ultimately remained in the same situation. So what we have been seeing over the last 48 hours has been an incredibly garbled message coming out of this White House, leaving everybody very unclear about what the U.S. position is, and belatedly getting to a place where they were pushing against Erdogan's decision to invade Syria.
Okay, so given this mixed messaging, why should anyone in the region trust America's word in the future?
Well, the United States had been clear that its plan to work with the Syrian Kurdish fighters was temporary and transactional. This was never intended to be a long-term relationship. It was a partnership intended to defeat the Islamic State in Syria. That said, the United States certainly should not be giving a green light to the Turkish government to attack these individuals in Syria.
Dr. Kelej, if I can turn to you, do you feel as if you've been thrown under a bus by the Americans here?
Yes, I think not only me, but the people in the region have this feeling that they have been betrayed by administration. Kurdish people, they lost a generation in fighting against ISIS, and they did in coordination with US and with other coalition members. And after the removal of ISIS by the Kurds, now the Trump administration decided to leave them alone with jihadists, with one of the authoritarian person, Erdogan, who has always intention to repress the Kurds in Turkey, but also in Syria.
And very briefly to you, Dr. Sloat, is it not possible now that the Kurds, rather miffed by this reversal of fortune, thanks to the Americans, will just allow these ISIS fighters that have been in their custody, to walk free, with some of them potentially threatening American targets? Briefly.
That certainly is possible. The YPG fighters have been holding these captured ISIS prisoners in custody, and the YPG has made clear that in order to fend off a Turkish incursion, they may need to pull away some of their guards from the prisons, which certainly would have the unfortunate effect of freeing the very people that we have been trying to defeat.
Right.